And now we are also in recording session. Roberto, hello. We started the workshop and I already sent you the invitation link. We have Harold here, we have Elitsa here, and we wish you join us as soon as possible. But we are recording the video, so no worries. You'll be having it right after the first session is over. So we are here to talk about parametrics and computational design first. As you are here and as you want to have this workshop, probably you are, you know, a couple of stuff related with the parametrics and computational design. When we say computational design, usually people understand computational design as we design with computers, but it's not about that at all. When we say computation, basically computation means calculation and math. So while we are thinking in design, computational design means we are thinking with numbers or parameters. And when we say parameters, we can use this analogy to everything in terms of parametrics and stuff. So without boring you too much with these things, let's jump into Grasshopper and let's start what we are going to do. Okay. Uh, before we start, you may remember, but Harold, for you, like when you are having any kind of question in the workshop, please stop me and ask right away. Otherwise, it could be forgotten, and we don't want that. Okay. So up until now, any questions? Okay. If you are using Rhino 6, you will see on the screen of yours there is this button, Launch Grasshopper. You can click on this, or you can type here, Grasshopper. Harold, did you have any kind of experience with Rhino before? Do you know things, small things? You never used it. Okay. Like throughout the course, I'll be also trying to explain you what is Rhino and try to do things with Rhino as well. Okay. So when you open your Grasshopper screen, okay, you will see probably nothing on your canvases, right? You will see some blue rectangles maybe. That means you haven't used any sort of files related with Rhino. You're empty, that's fine too. As you see, I am having these green rectangles. You might have blue rectangles. Do you have blue rectangles? Okay, blue rectangles that are showing you the default example files. And this is showing the files that I worked beforehand, okay? I'll be talking about this as well right after we jumped in. So this is Grasshopper, like let's say canvas. And it's a two-dimensional canvas. While we are working, you will understand what I mean by two-dimensional. But let's start with File, Edit, View, Display Solution, and Help menu. So, as in every single software, we have File here. In this button, it gives us the chance to have the new document, open document, recent files, save files, so on and so forth. In Edit, we have cut, copy, paste, paste and place, delete, so on and so forth. And there are these things like group, cluster, so on and so forth. I'll be talking about them as well. View is related with how we see things in Grasshopper. Display and view are two different things. View is related with how we see things in here, okay? But display is related with how we see the components and how we preview them in Grasshopper as well. And this is solution. This is related with how we use components and how they happen. And help menu. This is the help menu. Okay, so this is basic Grasshopper. But before we jump into Grasshopper, I would like to talk about the logic, the main logic of the Grasshopper. Okay, so let's start with something super simple. So we can take this down. And when we take it down, you can see the Grasshopper canvas goes left bottom corner here, okay? And when you do this, it pops up. Okay. So as we say, we are going to work with parameters in Grasshopper, but let's see how it happens or how it starts. So please, Harold, when you double click any of these views, it will be maximized, okay? So let's draw a line, a single line, okay? How you draw a line, you click on the command, you start the line, you end the line. If you click on F8, it will open the ortho. Do you know ortho? Yeah, yeah. So we have these two things. So as you see, we have these two lines here. So when we have things in Rhino, when we draw things or any other software that doesn't work with parameters, what we do is like you can just watch now, we can connect them, right? We will have these connections. But when we change things, for instance, if this line is too big or too small, then we have to make it like shorter, like this, and then we have to reconnect them, so on and so forth. But when we work with parameters, these things change a bit. So let's say we are having a surface in between these two lines, okay? So I go to here, I click on Loft, he, here, sorry, so we good? Loft, what Loft does, Harold, is it connects curves or lines with surface, okay? So when I click on Loft, it asks me select curves to Loft. But before we select the curves, if we click on here, record history, okay? And then we select our curves, you will see a surface in between. Can you see as well? No? No, it doesn't matter. You don't have to finish. Can I see it? Can you rotate it? Okay, so you have this line. Can you delete this? Can you delete this too? So you will have, but before we have the Loft, record history, where we have a record history. You don't have it. Okay, record history. I activate this, I click on this, and click enter. Yes, and you say okay. So you see a surface in between, right? So right click on the perspective and let's say shade it to this, okay? Now you see a surface in between. Now you can just watch, okay? Since we click on record history, Rhino is going to remember the move that we done. So that when we change this parameter, okay, Rhino is going to remember this. What do I mean? So I am rotating this, for instance. You see, the surface is changing itself. You see? Or if we move curve, so you have these lines, right? So you come onto the line, you see? And open Rumble, for instance. And when you do this, oops, when you do this, you see, it changes. So And also, if you move this line, again, our loft surface is going to be changing. So basically, this is where we have the logic of parameters. We have something when we change the inputs of it, everything changes accordingly. And this is important because now we are doing this with our hands. So it's still static, but it's not that smart, it's not that clever, but it responds our interactions, let me say. Okay, this is how we start in Rhino to explain you what parameters are. But when we jump into Grasshopper, we'll be defining every single thing with the numbers, okay? With the values, numbers, directions, everything. So are we good until now? So this is basically what we are going to do and what we are going to make it a bit like complicated in the next step. So we can delete this and we can go back into Grasshopper canvas. So any questions up until now? Fine. So let's draw a rectangle. Any kind of rectangle, doesn't matter. Okay. Could you? Okay, fine. And Harold, when you press Shift in your keyboard, and when you right click on your mouse, you can pan the view. When you only click the right click, you can orbit the view. Okay. Keep pressing right click. This one. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's copy this rectangle. You see copy is here. And let's have it somewhere near it, okay? Copy is here. Or you can easily like type copy here, Harold, as well, to the top, like to here you can type copy and it copies.
I have a question. Which is the difference between Loft and Patch?
Oh, well, patch is basically having its own geometric algorithm to create surface in between non-planar or planar curves. Okay, so it divides the emptiness or the void, let me say,
So the
into
Loft,
lines.
Loft.
You won't be able to loft the place where you have the patch because imagine this. This is an empty spot. How you can loft this? In order to loft things, you need more curves, at least more than one. But patch, you can patch any sort of void.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And the more UNV points you supply to the patch, the more precise results you will get. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So we have these two rectangles. So let's try to understand the basic operation in any CAD software that we have, and then let's see how we interpret that in Rhino, in Grasshopper. Okay. So have you heard the term extrusion, Harold, before? Extrude? You know what extrude is?
Yeah, yes.
You know what extrude is? Okay, fine. So let's, in this surface, let's say extrude curve, extrude and straight. You can just type extrude or you can do like this. Okay. So I select the extrude and I select this curve and I click enter. Enter. And you see now it is pulling it up, right? So let's say in my case, I'll be saying 60 and enter. Okay. So now what we are seeing is like body surface, like an empty box from top and bottom, right? We see inside of it.
I'm not sure because usually I use the solid one.
Okay, okay, you know the problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we are looking at this. What we have here is like we first decide on the curve, right, that we want to extrude. We decide on which vector we are going to use. In this one, it's Z. And we decide the numeric value, how much or how many centimeters we are going to extrude our curve, right? So in Grasshopper, while we are working, what we need to do is we need to tell exactly every single step to the computer, okay? So in order to do that, what we are going to do in Grasshopper, guys, anything that you are going to define from Rhino is going to be defined through param step, okay? Param step. Do you have params? You have params as well? So under params, there's this geometry, right? In this step, we see all these things. You may not see some of these in yours because I have a lot of plugins. That's why I have them. So I took the curve, okay? I had the curve here. And you see, it's now, which color it is? It's orange.
Yes.
Orange means there is a problem in that component, okay? So when you zoom in to this balloon here, and when you left click to the balloon, it says the problem, floating parameter curve failed to collect data, which means this component now is empty. It cannot find the geometry. So you can imagine these components like this. That component is an empty container, okay? It's a container, but filled with nothing. So you put your charger here, and then you start give some info from the other computer, let me say. So you give the information. So in order to give that information, what we are going to do is right click on this and set one curve and select the curve. Okay. Are we good up until now? Fine. And then you see that the component, the color of the component turn into gray. And gray means everything is smooth, everything works well. Okay. We can click on this and we can hide this. Let's click this and hide it. This lamp. Okay. But when you, okay, this is a bit important again. When you see this now, if you click on the component, every single thing that we have here, name component, okay? We are using all these things, all these buttons named as components. And as you see, we have a preview of our selected geometry. Are we good until now? Okay, so what did we do in the previous example, this one? We have this curve and we extrude this, right? So let's see how we do this kind of operation in Grasshopper. So in order to extrude, what we need first? What we need first? We need the curve, and we have the curve, right? We good? What else we need? The height, right? And what else? The direction of that height. And what else? That's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it. So now we go into the surface menu, surface tab. We are in the surface tab. In freeform, you will see extrude. Okay. And when we have extrude, you will see its color. Which color it is now? Orange. So let's go and read this thing. It gives us two small problems. It says input parameter base failed to collect data. Input parameter direction failed to collect data. So when we scroll over the base, what we see is profile curve or surface. So every single operation in Grasshopper, okay? Every single thing, every single operation that we are doing with components tells us what we need to do. So it asks us a base, okay? And so it asks us the direction of that base. So far, so good? Okay. So we need to supply that. Now we have the curve. And when you zoom into the components, you will see inputs. This part is called input. This part is called outputs. Okay. So since our output of the curve is going to be feeding the base of the extrude operation, we are going to connect this to here. Okay. If you keep pressing left button of the mouse, okay, do you see? And you can connect it over there. So far, so good. Now, the other thing is the direction, extrusion direction. And it says empty vector parameter, right? So we need to, what this asks for is we need to give it a vector. So in Grasshopper, sometimes things can be complicated to you, okay? But don't forget this. In each and every step, the operators or these components is going to tell you what you need to do with them. Okay? Are we good? Fine. Then if it asks for a vector, then we go into the vector tab. Okay? In vector tab, there are a bunch of options that you can use for creating grids, creating planes, creating points, and creating vectors. What we need now is vector, right?
Why do we need vector?
Because it asks us empty vector parameters. You see that?
Okay.
And also, when we say direction, it requires a vector, right? So we see the vector here. As you can see here, we have a lot of different vector creation or formation options, but you see here a unit Z, right? And let's take unit Z. And now, it's as a default component, it comes with gray, okay? But dark gray. Please notice this, I'll be explaining it as well. And when we see its output, it gives us the vector 0, 0, 1. And the factor is 1. Okay? These are default values. So the component itself programmed, the unit Z component itself programmed with numeric value with 1. So how we can change this? In param step, under input, is it too fast how it's going, the paces?
No,
Okay.
the gray needs.
I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain it. So under input, we are looking at things, but under, like you are going to see, okay, where is this? Number slider here. Do you see this? And let's take it to our canvas. So far, so good? Very good. Okay, fantastic. Then now you see there's this circle and you can take it left and right and the numeric value is changing accordingly. But if you notice that it's only changing between 0 and 1. So how can we change this? Well, let's right click on this and click on edit. Right, and you, my feet.
I think I
No,
touched
no,
someone,
no.
but I don't know who.
Okay, so when we see this, it's basically editing the slider, number slider. So it's named now number slider. You can change it. We can change this extrude into extrude height or value, however you extrude height or extrusion height, however you name it, doesn't matter. And under expression, this is numeric mathematical equation that you can define. We are not having any kind of a requirements right now. This is how we see it. And underneath that, you see rounding. This is a bit important. When we say things round, it gives us these numbers after the point. Okay, if we increase this, we will have 6 incrementals. And if we say integer numbers, not rounded, floating part, sorry, integer numbers, we will only have, you see, the numbers itself. We don't have any point and any more continuation. If we have even numbers, you can select even numbers or odd numbers, okay? Let's have it in round and let's have it like this. And right under that, we see a minimum value and a maximum value. Now it's defined minimum value is 1 and the maximum value is 2. So we can change this. If we double click on this, we can call this 0 and enter. And maximum, we can have it 60. And underneath what we see is the range. The range means the numbers between the minimum and the maximum points. So far, so good? Okay.
The question that you can add is in which way, in which format is the equation that you can add in the expression?
In this expression part,
Is, for example, x.
like it's like x multiplied by 5. When you say
You
that,
have to say what is x.
no, you don't have to say x. X is the number that you put in. But if we say like, you don't have to write this down, x multiplied by 5, we will see 1 here, you see, it will have it 5. Okay, x is 1 and it's multiplied by 5.
Okay.
But you don't need to worry about that, okay? And you can also have like negative values as well. So you see in minimum, you double click, you put like a minus and you have 30. So what you will have is the values are going to be changing from minus 30 to 60, okay? And the numeric value that we see here, we can name it here, okay? And when we click OK, we will have extrude height with this definition, okay? So if you want to specify a number, let's say 35, you don't have to go here and try to search for 35, okay? Because it could be a bit like annoying. So you can double click on the component, and you can tab 35, and when you click enter, it will be 35. Or if you want to have something with points, so let's say 12.5, and click OK, it's going to be 12.5. Are we good? Okay, and we can connect this to factors. So far, so good. And when we see now, unit vector is turned into 0, 0, and 12.5, right? And if we connect it to the direction, we see it's extruded, isn't it? So when we change these things, you can see it responds immediately.